Shedeur Sanders didn't just sit quietly while the Cleveland Browns pulled the strings behind the scenes. Instead, he took the bold step of speaking out, exposing a decision that wasn't his own. "I wanted to play," he said. "They told me I couldn't." In that single moment, Sanders flipped the script on the Browns' carefully crafted story about his back injury, raising serious questions about what's really going on inside the organization. This isn't just a player making a statement, it's a direct challenge to a system built on secrecy and control.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
By speaking out, Sanders is forcing the Browns to confront their own narrative, pushing for accountability in a league where truth is often buried beneath the surface. But with his career hanging in the balance, the stakes are higher than ever. Will the Browns adjust their approach, or will they risk destroying both Sanders' future and their own? The Cleveland Browns have found themselves in the middle of a growing scandal, one that's rapidly damaging their reputation and leaving their future in jeopardy. What seemed like a minor injury issue involving Shedeur Sanders, their backup quarterback, has escalated into a full-blown crisis that has fans, analysts, and players alike questioning the integrity of the entire organization. At the heart of this controversy is Sanders' unexplained benching during the Browns game against the Patriots, and the team's odd refusal to clarify the true reasons behind it. The Browns originally claimed that Sanders was sidelined due to a back injury, but as the days passed, that explanation began to fall apart. Sanders himself spoke out on live TV, revealing that it wasn't an injury that kept him out, but a decision made by the team. The rookie quarterback said he was healthy and wanted to play, but the organization chose to keep him on the bench. This public admission instantly threw the Browns' narrative into doubt and set the stage for a full-blown examination of the team's decision-making process. What followed was a firestorm of criticism and speculation. The Browns' handling of Sanders' benching raised serious questions about the team's transparency and its treatment of its players. Fans and analysts alike began asking whether the Browns were genuinely trying to protect Sanders or if they were concealing something deeper, like management missteps, roster inadequacies, or strategic manipulations. Why would the team bench Sanders if he wasn't injured? Was there more to the story that the Browns weren't willing to share? The team's refusal to provide clear answers only fed the growing suspicion. Eyewitnesses at the game reported that Sanders was seen warming up on the field before the game with no signs of injury or discomfort. If he was physically fine, then why wasn't he playing? Was the injury claim fabricated or exaggerated to cover up something else? These conflicting reports and the team's secrecy only raised more questions. The Browns were not being upfront, and that lack of transparency became a major issue for everyone involved. The situation became even more confusing when you factor in the ongoing performance of the Browns' starting quarterback, Dillon Gabriel. Gabriel had been struggling for weeks, but despite his poor performance, the team continued to start him. Meanwhile, Sanders, who had shown promise in his limited appearances, was kept on the sidelines. This raised a simple but crucial question. If Gabriel wasn't getting the job done, why not give Sanders a shot? The Browns were sticking with Gabriel, even though it was clear that their offense was sputtering and that Sanders could provide a much-needed spark. By continuing to start Gabriel, the Browns were sending a message that they were more interested in protecting their investment in Gabriel rather than giving Sanders the fair opportunity he deserved. This became a key point of contention. Why was Gabriel allowed to continue as the starting quarterback, despite his underwhelming performance, while Sanders, who had the potential to lead the team, was kept out of action? Fans were left to wonder whether the Browns were more concerned with Gabriel's development or with maintaining their public image, even if it meant sacrificing the long-term development of a more talented player in Sanders. This situation also highlighted the double standards at play within the Browns organization. Sanders, despite being healthy and willing to play, was benched while Gabriel, despite his struggles, kept his starting job. This disparity in treatment sparked accusations of favoritism and strategic suppression. It became clear that the organization might have been prioritizing short-term stability over the long-term potential of its most promising young quarterback. Instead of giving Sanders the chance to show what he could do, the Browns were playing it safe, choosing to stick with Gabriel, even though the results spoke for themselves. The Browns' failure to act decisively was not just a problem for Sanders, it was a problem for the entire franchise. Teams are built on trust between players, coaches, and management. When that trust is eroded, it can have long-term consequences. The secrecy surrounding Sanders' injury, coupled with the lack of a clear explanation, created an atmosphere of suspicion and distrust. If the Browns couldn't be transparent about something as simple as an injury, what else were they hiding? Fans began to question whether the organization had their best interests at heart or if they were more concerned with saving face. As the weeks dragged on, the situation began to affect Sanders' future with the team. Every game that passed without Sanders getting an opportunity to play was another game where his development stagnated. For young quarterbacks, time on the field is invaluable. They need experience to grow, to learn from their mistakes, and to become the leaders their teams need them to be. By keeping Sanders off the field, the Browns weren't just harming his career, they were risking their future. Sanders is the future of this team. He was brought in to be the franchise quarterback, and yet he was being buried on the bench while an underperforming veteran continued to start. This is not how you build a team for the future. The Browns now find themselves at a crossroads. They can either continue down this path, keeping Sanders sidelined in favor of short-term stability, or they can make the bold decision to let Sanders play, even if it means taking some lumps in the short term. They have the chance to invest in their future by giving Sanders the opportunity to develop and lead the team, but they need to make that decision soon. The longer they wait, the more they risk losing Sanders' confidence, and the more they risk losing their future quarterback. If the Browns continue to play these games, hiding behind injuries and vague explanations, they risk further damaging their relationship with their players and their fan base. Fans want to see their team succeed, but they also want to see their team develop. They want to see a clear path to the future. By benching Sanders, the Browns are not only hurting the player but also hurting their future. The lack of transparency, the failure to give Sanders the chance he deserves, and the continued mishandling of the quarterback situation are all signs that this organization is stuck in a cycle of poor decision-making. The clock is ticking and the Browns need to make a move. If they want to salvage this season and the future of their franchise, they need to be honest with themselves and with their fans. The secrecy must end. Sanders deserves the chance to play, to prove his worth, and to take the reins as the future of the team. The longer the Browns hold him back, the more they risk destroying what could be their most promising opportunity for long-term success. So what's next? The ball is in the Browns' court. They can continue down this path of secrecy and indecision, or they can make the right call and start developing their future quarterback. The longer they wait, the more they risk the future of their team and the trust of their fan base. This is a pivotal moment in the Browns' history, and how they handle Sanders' situation could define their success for years to come. What do you think? Should the Browns finally give Sanders a chance to prove himself, or is there a reason for their continued hesitation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like and share this post if you believe the Browns need to make a bold decision for their future. Subscribe for more updates as this story continues to unfold. The Browns' next move could make or break their future, and we'll be here to cover it every step of the way. The Cleveland Browns find themselves embroiled in a controversy that is quickly becoming one of the defining stories of the 2025 NFL season. A situation that began with Shedeur Sanders, their young backup quarterback, being mysteriously benched has spiraled into a full-blown crisis, raising serious questions about the team's decision-making, their treatment of players, and the integrity of their entire operation. As the dust continues to settle from this scandal, it's clear that the Browns have dug themselves a hole that may be impossible to get out of without drastic changes. It all started innocuously enough. Sanders, the backup quarterback, was sidelined with a reported back injury before the Browns game against the Patriots. A routine injury report, one that we see every season in the NFL. Players get hurt, they sit out games, and life moves on. Or so we thought. But things quickly took a strange turn when Sanders himself spoke out during a post-game interview. His comments sent shockwaves throughout the league. He didn't make the decision to sit out. The team did. He was healthy, ready to play, but the Browns chose to keep him on the sidelines. This wasn't just a minor slip-up. It was a direct challenge to the team's official story, a public revelation that exposed deep cracks in the organization's transparency. If Sanders wasn't injured and he wasn't allowed to play, the obvious question became, why? What was going on behind closed doors? Why would a team bench a healthy, capable player without any clear explanation? The timing of this revelation couldn't have been worse. Sanders is a young quarterback, drafted with the potential to be the future of the Browns. This wasn't just about one game, it was about his development, his opportunity to grow into the leader the franchise hoped he could be. The Browns' decision to bench him and then hide behind an injury report that didn't line up with Sanders' own statements and the footage of him warming up without discomfort raised alarms that went beyond football. Fans began to question, was the Browns' management being transparent with them, or were they concealing deeper internal issues? Was there something about Sanders' performance, his relationship with the coaching staff, or something else that the team didn't want to admit? The controversy only deepened when it became clear that the team had made the decision to continue starting Dillon Gabriel, despite his ongoing struggles. Gabriel, who had been underperforming for weeks, was still the starter while Sanders, the team's highly touted rookie, was kept in reserve. For many, this was the turning point. If Gabriel couldn't get the job done and Sanders was healthy and ready to go, why was he still sitting on the bench? It didn't add up. It became clear that the Browns were prioritizing something, whether it was their investment in Gabriel, their desire for stability, or even an unwillingness to admit mistakes, over the long-term development of Sanders. This wasn't just a one-off mistake. The more this situation unfolded, the more it looked like the Browns were making decisions based on what was easiest in the moment, rather than what was best for their future. When a rookie quarterback with as much potential as Sanders is kept out of the game, especially with an underperforming veteran still in the starting role, it raises serious questions about the team's priorities. Are they committed to developing their young players, or are they more concerned with protecting their image and avoiding the potential backlash of a rookie starting? The answer to that question, unfortunately, seemed to lie in the Browns' handling of Sanders' injury. The team initially claimed that the reason Sanders was benched was due to an injury. But when he revealed that it was a decision made by the team, and when eyewitness accounts showed him warming up without pain, it became clear that the Browns weren't being honest. Were they hiding a deeper issue? Was Sanders simply being sidelined because of management's fear of exposing weaknesses in their roster construction? This kind of secrecy is damaging. It doesn't just affect Sanders, it affects the entire organization. The fans, the players, the coaches, all of them are left wondering what the real story is, and that lack of clarity erodes trust. And in a sport like the NFL, where transparency and trust are critical, the Browns' refusal to come clean about their decisions could have long-term consequences. The lack of clear answers also became a point of contention for those watching from the outside. In the modern NFL, where player rights are often at the forefront of discussion, the situation with Sanders underscored a larger issue: the treatment of players. While the league is quick to promote the idea of player development, it's clear that organizations like the Browns are sometimes more concerned with protecting their short-term assets than with the growth of their young stars. Sanders should have been given the chance to prove himself, to step in when Gabriel was struggling, to be tested in real game situations. Instead, he was kept on the sidelines, possibly stunting his growth and undermining his confidence. The Browns' handling of this situation also highlighted a potential double standard. Sanders, an emerging talent, was benched due to an alleged injury, while Gabriel, who had been consistently underperforming, remained the starting quarterback. This disparity in treatment sent a message to the locker room: if you're the rookie, you have to wait. If you're the veteran, you get the benefit of the doubt. This kind of uneven treatment creates division within a team and undermines morale. How can players like Sanders, who have the potential to lead the team in the future, trust an organization that seems to value stability over growth? And how can veterans like Gabriel feel secure knowing their position is being protected despite a lack of results? At the same time, the Browns' decision to stick with Gabriel was a sign that they were putting their current short-term goals ahead of their long-term vision. The team's focus seemed to be on minimizing risk, rather than taking the necessary steps to develop their future. This short-sighted approach wasn't just damaging to Sanders, it was damaging to the team as a whole. By not giving Sanders the opportunity to play, the Browns were setting the stage for a scenario where they might be forced to make desperate moves later on, all because they were unwilling to make the tough decisions. This situation also speaks to a broader issue in the NFL, one that's becoming more and more apparent across the league: the reluctance of some teams to fully embrace young talent. Sanders is a highly skilled quarterback with a future ahead of him, yet the Browns have continuously kept him on the sidelines. And what does that say about the team's commitment to player development? When a young player with as much promise as Sanders is not given the chance to play, it sends a message to the entire league. Teams are sometimes more interested in protecting their own image and assets than in actually developing the stars of tomorrow. And so, the controversy grows. As the Browns continue to keep Sanders sidelined, they risk alienating their own fan base, their players, and their future. It's clear that this situation isn't just about one game or one season. It's about the direction of the franchise itself. If the Browns truly want to turn things around, they need to start making decisions that prioritize their future success over short-term stability. That means putting Sanders in the game, letting him prove himself, and building a team that can sustain long-term success through player development. Every moment the Browns hesitate, they risk further alienating their most talented young quarterback and potentially their entire roster. Sanders deserves better than this. He deserves the opportunity to prove himself on the field, to show what he can do, and to develop into the quarterback the Browns thought they were getting when they drafted him. If the Browns don't make the right move soon, they risk not only losing Sanders but also losing the trust of their fans and the very foundation on which the team's future should be built. What's next for Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns? Will the team make the right choice, or will they continue to stumble in the dark, afraid to take the necessary risks that could define their future? One thing is clear, the pressure is mounting and the time to act is now. The Cleveland Browns are teetering on the edge of a full-blown crisis, and at the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback with a future that's being hijacked by a series of questionable decisions. What could have been a defining moment in the rookie's career has instead turned into a mess of secrecy, mismanagement, and growing frustration that's leaving everyone involved asking the same question. Why? It all started with a simple enough explanation from the Browns. Sanders, the backup quarterback, was benched due to a back injury. Injuries are a part of the NFL and usually the story ends there. But this time something didn't sit right. Sanders himself came forward and made it crystal clear, it wasn't his choice to sit out. The team told him he couldn't play. That one revelation sent shockwaves through the league, leaving fans and analysts scrambling to understand why such a seemingly minor issue had turned into a major scandal. The Browns' explanation fell apart almost immediately. How could Sanders, who was reportedly healthy enough to warm up before the game, be benched for an injury that wasn't even visible? Eyewitness accounts, along with footage of Sanders looking perfectly fine, suggested that the back injury the team claimed was either exaggerated or fabricated. If he wasn't injured, then what was really going on? Why would the Browns bench a quarterback who had shown promise in limited action and who was ready to step up? The questions were piling up and the team wasn't offering any answers. It's one thing for a team to make a tough call, but when the team chooses to hide behind vague excuses, the situation gets more complicated. By refusing to be transparent with the media and fans, the Browns created a storm of suspicion that they've failed to calm. Instead of clearing the air, they've only deepened the mystery. And that's what has really angered fans. There is no clarity. The Browns had a chance to be upfront and honest, but they chose secrecy, and that is a dangerous game to play. The confusion over Sanders' status grew even worse when Dillon Gabriel, the starting quarterback, continued to play despite his ongoing struggles. Gabriel had been underperforming for weeks, but the Browns stuck with him. Even when it was evident that the offense was stagnant, Gabriel remained the starter, while Sanders, the promising rookie, was kept on the bench. Why was Gabriel still playing? The team's refusal to give Sanders a chance only exacerbated the situation. What did the Browns have to lose by giving Sanders an opportunity to prove himself? Gabriel's poor performance was only making the situation worse, and yet Sanders remained sidelined. For many fans, this didn't just seem like a matter of player development. It felt like the Browns were more interested in protecting their investment in Gabriel than in giving their young quarterback the chance he deserved. Gabriel's struggles were obvious, but instead of taking a chance on Sanders and seeing what he could do, the team decided to keep him on the sidelines. It looked more and more like the Browns were prioritizing short-term stability over long-term potential, which is a dangerous decision for a team that has struggled to find success for decades. By keeping Sanders benched, the Browns weren't just jeopardizing his future, they were jeopardizing their own. Sanders is a talented rookie who could be the face of the franchise for years to come, but they're stalling his development by refusing to give him playing time. Every game that passes without Sanders getting the opportunity to start is a game that he's not learning, not growing, and not showing his potential. He's being kept in limbo, and for what? To protect an underperforming veteran? That's not a winning strategy, and it certainly doesn't bode well for the future. There's a deeper issue here that the Browns need to address. The team's management of Sanders, keeping him off the field for reasons that are unclear, is damaging not only to his development but to the entire organization. The Browns seem to be stuck in a cycle of poor decisions, and this quarterback situation is a microcosm of that problem. If the team is unwilling to make bold moves, to put their future in the hands of their most talented young players, then they will remain mired in mediocrity. The longer the Browns delay Sanders' progression, the more they risk not just his career but their own credibility as a team. They need to be honest with themselves and with their fans. They need to ask, what is the future of this franchise and who do we want leading it? Sanders has the potential to be the star quarterback the Browns have desperately needed for years. But they need to give him the opportunity to show what he can do. The situation is reaching a tipping point, and the Browns must act before they do any more damage to Sanders' career or their own long-term prospects. By continuing to keep Sanders sidelined, the Browns are setting themselves up for failure. They are refusing to make the tough call, to give their young quarterback the chance he's earned. This is a moment for the Browns to make a bold move, one that sets the course for the future of the team, not just for this season but for the years to come. What happens next will say a lot about the Browns as an organization. Will they continue to protect their image, or will they take a chance on their future? Time is running out, and the decision they make could define the course of their entire franchise. What do you think? Should the Browns finally give Sanders a chance to play, or are they justified in keeping him sidelined for now? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Browns are mishandling the situation, or do they have a valid reason for their approach? Be sure to like and share if you think it's time for the Browns to make the right decision for the future of the team. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates as this unfolding controversy continues to capture the attention of fans across the league.